Hey, 42 here. Once every year, millions of people in the Northern Hemisphere lose 1 hour of sleep for one night only due to daylight savings time when the clocks go back. The health consequences of this loss of only a mere hour of sleep are astronomical. Researchers examining millions of hospital admission records worldwide found that the rate of heart attack on the day following the evening when the clocks go back skyrocket. Similarly, in the autumn, when the clocks go forward and thus we gain an hour of sleep, there is a significant drop in hospital admissions. In the 1960s, a seminal experiment took place that had disturbing results. 8 healthy young males were hooked up to brain scanning equipment and placed in their own room for 5 consecutive days and nights. The purpose of this experiment was not to deprive them of sleep, but deprive them of dreams. Every night when they slept, they were allowed as much NREM, non-rapid eye movement sleep, as they desired. But as soon as their brain activity indicated that they had slipped into REM sleep, dream sleep, someone would enter the room, wake them up, and get them to do maths problems for 10 minutes to prevent them from falling immediately back asleep. The full 5 nights of dream deprivation weren't required to produce some terrifying symptoms. After just 3 nights of little to no REM sleep, the participants all showed extreme irritability and became hostile towards the experimenters. They also became extremely paranoid and were convinced that the whole experiment was a clandestine government conspiracy. They began to generally distrust those in charge, and some of the participants accused the researchers of poisoning their food. We all know that sleep deprivation can affect one's physical health, but do you really know to what disastrous extent? And how little sleep do you need to miss to inflict some severe consequences? If you don't get at least 8 hours of sleep every night, then your immune system's ability to function properly disintegrates, and you'll be significantly more likely to catch a virus. Your focus levels will also plummet. Studies show that people who sleep less than 7 hours per night are much more likely to gain excessive weight. There are 2 hormones that your body uses to tell your brain when you should feel hungry and when you're full. Leptin makes you feel full when it's released, whereas its opposite, ghrelin, stimulates your hunger. When you miss just an hour of sleep, the following day your levels of leptin will drop, so that you will need to eat more to feel full throughout the day. And your ghrelin levels will shoot up, so you'll want to snack more throughout the day. Sleep less than 5 hours per night, and studies have demonstrated that your chances of developing type 2 diabetes shoot up. Sleep deprivation is also strongly linked to increased levels of heart disease and stroke. In 2018, a Chinese man died of a stroke after staying up for 48 hours straight to watch the Football World Cup. During that very same tournament, another man died of a heart attack after staying up for several days, and then a third man was found dead in front of his computer screen that had been broadcasting a World Cup match. Now, just for the record, football isn't indiscriminately killing people. It's just that fans often stay up for days to watch football matches during the World Cup that are often broadcasted on sociable hours all over the globe. But there is one side effect of sleep deprivation that new research has only now fully illuminated, and it is particularly worrying. Your brain activity, like a car engine, creates waste. Numerous toxins accumulate in your brain over the course of the day, but your body has a solution. Every night, your brain gets a power wash. Cerebrospinal fluid washes over your brain whilst you sleep, clearing away all the toxins. This process is carried out by your brain's glymphatic system. To put it simply, if you don't get the 8 hours of sleep per night, you are missing out on some of this power washing. Meaning that some of the toxins will remain in your brain the following morning, and over time, these can accumulate. Over many years of sleep deprivation, you can build up quite a nasty stockpile of brain toxins. The only way to get rid of them is to make up for all of your lost sleep, your sleep debt. Scientists have labelled brains that have a large buildup of toxins as dirty brains. Having a dirty brain can cause your brain activity to become foggy and not function optimally. But one of these toxins in particular is thought to be particularly damaging: beta-amyloid. Beta-amyloid is a toxic protein that studies have shown could cause Alzheimer's disease. The more you let this toxin build up by not sleeping, the more likely you are to develop Alzheimer's. In a recent study, scientists injected dye into the glymphatic system of mice so they could actually watch the cerebrospinal fluid doing its power washing in the brains of the mice. They found that during the day, the fluid barely flows through the brain at all, but during sleep, particularly REM sleep, the fluid rushes through the brain very rapidly. Some researchers have even postulated that sleep deprivation could be the biggest contributor to Alzheimer's, and that by catching up on sleep, those that would otherwise develop it could perhaps stave it off. But the effects of sleep deprivation go deeper and far freakier than physical health. In 1959, a radio DJ named Peter Tripp thought it would be a good idea to set a record for staying awake, and he broadcast a whole experience on his radio show. For the benefit of charity and scientific research, Tripp pledged to stay awake for 200 hours straight, and incredibly, he did, but not without some odd and terrible consequences. After the first couple of days, he started to abuse everyone around him, and he made his barber cry, whom he'd known for years. Then, after 120 hours of wakefulness, the hallucinations kicked in. He reported walking into someone else's hotel room and showering. When he opened a drawer to retrieve his clothes, he witnessed searing flames raging inside the drawer and jumping out at him. At one point, when one of the scientists walked up to him, Tripp thought he was an undertaker come to take him away and bury him. Tripp ran away from him into the street. He also started to see faces everywhere and in the objects all around him. He began to see spiders in his shoes, and he got frustrated that nobody else could see them. The scientists monitoring Tripp noticed something very interesting indeed. The hallucinations came and went in 90-minute cycles, which just happens to match the pattern of dreaming whilst we sleep. It's as though Tripp was trying to dream even though he was awake, at the very same time intervals that Tripp would have dreamt had he been asleep. With the help of stimulant drugs, Tripp made it to 200 hours. Then he enjoyed a much-needed 24-hour sleep. The scientists hoped that the 8 days of no sleep would have no lasting permanent effect on Tripp, and sure enough, after sleeping, he claimed he felt absolutely fine. But it didn't seem that way for everyone else around him. His personality had changed somehow. He quickly lost his job, and his wife divorced him, who claimed he had become an entirely different man. But sleep deprivation can also kill in huge numbers. It has probably happened more times than we know of. The Chernobyl explosion is considered to be the worst nuclear disaster in history. Because of the nature of radiation, it is almost impossible to quantify the number of deaths caused by the accident, but it is likely to be in the thousands, and it still causes illness across Europe to this day. It is strongly thought that sleep deprivation can be blamed for this catastrophe, at least in part. The engineers working at 1 AM at the time of the explosion had been on shift for 13 hours straight and were severely sleep deprived. Similarly, in 1989, an Exxon Valdez oil supertanker ran aground in Alaska, spilling 258,000 barrels of crude oil into the water and soil, killing profuse amounts of precious marine species, including 500,000 seabirds and thousands of poor otters, bald eagles, and whales. The third mate in charge of the vessel who made the fatal navigational error had only slept for 6 out of the previous 48 hours. But if prolonging your own life and that of others aren't somehow convincing enough reasons to inspire you to catch up on sleep, then perhaps one more reason will appeal to the narcissist in you and make you change your mind. If you don't get enough sleep, you get ugly. Sleep deprivation causes paler skin, wrinkles, bloodshot eyes, and droopy eyelids. In a study in which participants were asked to rate the attractiveness of people who had slept 8 hours per night over 2 nights, compared to people who only got 4 hours each night, those who got just 4 hours sleep were consistently rated as uglier, and strangely, people also thought they looked less intelligent. So it turns out beauty sleep is a real thing after all. Thanks for watching. I've recently launched my first book, which I'm crowdfunding. Stick a flag in it, 1,000 years of bizarre history for Britain and beyond. The crowdfunding campaign has reached 100%, so it's definitely going to be published, thanks to everyone who has pledged already. But there's still one more stretch goal to reach. So if you want a first edition signed copy, then head on over to Unbound, the link is in the description. Watch the launch video if you haven't already, and pledge today. Thank you.